Have your attention, please, at 7 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everybody to our November council meeting. And as usual, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I now have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Lewis?
Present.
Councilmember Carlson?
Here.
Councilmember Ethan?
Here.
Vice Mayor Whitmer?
Here.
Mayor Dobbie?
Here. Before we start tonight, I am going to ask the council on an urgency basis to put another item on the agenda. An item came to the attention of the staff after the posting of the agenda for the November 16th council meeting, that there's an urgent need for immediate action on the matter that we hereby request the City Council to add a new item number 20.5 entitled Appointment of Acting Interim City Manager. Such an item shall require an affirmative vote of 4 council members to add it to the agenda, and the item shall require a majority of vote to affirm the appointment. The need for this has arisen that the city manager is currently absent from the state and is ill, and because of this, it is unclear when he will return. He did not designate a person to act in his place upon departure, and therefore to ensure both administrative and emergency continuity in his absence, it is recommended that the City Council appoint the appropriate person to act as city manager until the current interim city manager can return or another interim city manager is appointed. Therefore, it is the staff's recommendation, based on the representation of the city manager, Police Chief Ed Flint be designated the acting interim city manager by resolution to act in both capacities until the return of the interim city manager or the appointment of another interim city manager, or until otherwise excused from acting in this dual capacity by the City Council. So I would make a motion that we approve a resolution appointing Police Chief Ed Flint as the acting interim city manager until the return of an interim city manager, or until otherwise excused from acting in this dual capacity by the City Council.
Mr. Mayor, before you can make that motion, we need to have a motion to add the item to the agenda.
Can I have a motion to add this to the agenda? All right, so moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I will then read this resolution again.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Bill, I have received a letter, as have all members of the council, from a resident asking me to read something into the record. Is that an appropriate thing to do, and if so, at what time?
I would say this is an appropriate time if it's a letter, I think. Sure.
Dear elected, this is from a resident by the name of Kimberly Sweetie. She has asked me, she's directed me to read it into the record. She lives at 93 Broad Acres Road in Atherton. Dear elected officials and government employees, I do not support the appointment of the police chief as the interim city manager. There are so many problems with this that I don't even know where to start. Let's start with the problems we have had at the police department in the past. Let's address the fact that these two functions are self-evidently distinct. Let's continue with the question of qualifications. Let's end with the fact that we do not live in a police state. I cannot attend tonight's meeting because I do not have child care lined up at this late date. However, I am registering my strenuous objection to this appointment. Anyone who attends is authorized to read my statement to the council as long as it is done verbatim. Further, I ask the council member, Kathy McKeithen, read this objection verbatim into the record, including my name and address. Your time and attention to this matter are greatly appreciated. Sincerely, your name and address. Thank you.
I will now again read the motion, which is to approve the resolution appointing Police Chief Ed Flint as the acting interim city manager until the return of the interim city manager or until otherwise excused from acting in his dual capacity by the city council. I will make a motion and ask for a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Ed, I know that you have substantial duties as police chief, and I thank you very much for accepting this position, which we hope will not be very long, but thank you very much for volunteering to do this as well.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda are the presentations. And tonight we have presentations from the Red Ribbon Awards, and I guess our police reserve officer, Bruce Potts, will present those.
Thank you. You know, every year they talk about drugs, and it's often framed in the wrong manner. Maybe if I borrow a mic, the kids are going to need it. And if we could bring the screen down so we can put the digitized, maybe you folks might like a seat out here. We've got a place reserved for you.
Cigarette, and I have an orange ball.
You've got to put in a poster. You've got to compete against the fifth grader. That's the scary part. Next slide. Whoa, that one didn't work. Different machine, not a happy day. Okay, I have better things to do than drugs is the title of the poster. And each child is given a poster. And then our chief of police is not only the city manager, the chief of police, but he is also an outstanding art critic. I mean, this guy can do anything. Chief, you want to come up? I think he can probably walk on water or maybe even fly, I'm not sure. In any case, Lucas St. Gore, Encinal School, 5th grade, 2nd place. Come on up. Looking at this, I have one question. Do you do all this in one night? I mean, rock climbing and White River rafting, skiing. Is that all you? I'm exhausted. Good job. Want to go ahead and pick your ball? First place winner was Gabby, or Giselle Valdez, 5th grade. Come on up. I think this poster had the more discussion than any other poster. Really a good job. You want to tell us a little about it, huh?
I did people doing different types of drugs, and in each square box, I put myself doing sports and different activities that I like to do that the people that do drugs can't do, and so yeah.
Good job.
Congratulations.
4th grade in small school, 2nd place, Sarah Lowell.
On the poster I drew my 3 favorite things to do. I like to play basketball, I like to dance, and I like to play soccer.
Wow. Ava Bauer, come on up, 1st place winner. looking at this, is all of that travel you?
Some years, not all of it. Europe is part of one of them, and Canada sometimes. I do this mostly over the summer and sometimes during the year.
Good job. Third place, second, Friend Small School, John Quinlan, come on up. Oops, he's not here tonight. First place, Gabby Anaya.
This is about my, I like to go and bring my dog to the park sometimes. So when I had 2 dogs, I drew a park. So I drew one of my big dog just standing right there because she just likes to go and stay with people and get lots of attention. And my other dog is really playful, so she likes to jump on people. So I made her jumping into a bush.
Okay, good job. Okay, moving over to St. Joe's. Andrew
So I basically drew football, and I had a football with no drugs. And I drew football because I like to watch football and I like to play football. So yeah, that's it.
First place, 5th grade, St. Joe's, Alberto, for us.
This picture is about my aunt that died to breast cancer. Her name's Andalia, and I'd rather support her than do drugs. And here's my football team I play for, and we supported breast cancer when we played football.
Fourth grade, 2nd place, Claire Borges, come on up. This was a tough one because it seemed like there was sand all over my kitchen table all the time.
So I'd rather go to the beach because we always visit my grandparents at the beach every summer. And so I just like going there and being with them. So, yeah.
I love the seashells on there. That's great. That really is great.
Dasha Solakovic, come on up. I'm sorry about you.
I drew myself dancing because I really like to dance, and I made the curtains out of a shirt.
Several of the people looked at this, and what kind of dance do you do, hon? Oh, jazz, okay. Joey, come on up. Cardino. 2nd place, St. Joe's, 3rd grade.
I did a dog sledding because when we were in Alaska, we did dog sledding, and it was really fun, and yeah.
I was wondering if he did dog sledding around here, because that's talking a lot of climate change for that. First place, Catherine Sweeney, come on up. Third grade.
I did soccer because I love to play over the weekend and getting to play with my friends from Tola Valley. So I did soccer when I'm about to shoot the winning goal.
Katie Goltz, first place, St. Joseph.
Catherine.
Catherine, I'm sorry. Second, I'm sorry, Catherine Sweeney.
Well, I just went.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Kat.
I did making new friends because I really love making new friends because I wouldn't have any friends to play with if I didn't make new friends.
Katie Goltz, come on up. First place winner. I'm wondering what kind of horse this is.
Well, I choose to do this because my favorite sport is horseback riding, and the horse I'm on, his name is Trix, and his show name is Trick or Treat.
What name is Trick or Treat?
Show name.
Oh, show name. They have 2 names?
Yeah.
Learn something new. Here we go. First grade, Reese Wheaton. Not here? Here we are. You would rather have a party? Can you tell us about your party?
I had my friend over, and her name is
Oh, and those balloons?
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Well, thank you very much for showing us this. And Deanna Heidi, come on in. Do you play all of these sports, honey? Oh, wow. Can you turn around and tell everybody about their booster?
I like to play sports, and it's really cool because I just like it because you get to run a lot, and yeah.
You know, trying to judge these was tough. I really do believe that it was tough to beat a 5th grader. Thank you for your attention tonight.
Thank you.
Xbox.
All right, we're now ready to continue the council meeting. The next item on the agenda is public comments. And public comments is reserved for comments for items that are not on the agenda. Any public comments? Go ahead. I think that microphone may be working.
I'm Carol Flaherty from 10 Camino Por Los Árboles, and I came tonight not to gripe about something, but to recognize one of our civil employees. I got the notice that Louise Ho is leaving our employment here in Atherton, and I thought you all should know what a truly extraordinary employee that many of the residents, myself included, feel that she is. A couple of months ago when I came to the council meeting, I expressed some concern about the time it was taking to get business licenses. And about a week later, Louise called me at 7:30 on a Friday night. And she indicated that she wanted to do something about discovering what problems might be and solve them. She called me 2 more times in the following weeks after that. And the depth of knowledge that Louise has brought to her job in this town, I think, has truly been extraordinary. So it would have been easy for me to write a letter to the city manager, but I thought that Louise deserves some public recognition of the hours and hours and weeks that she has slaved away on behalf of our town. She came at a really tough time following a difficult period with our former city manager, following an interim person. And I think that the quality of her work has been extraordinary, the depth of her work, and I, for one, really appreciate her service to this town and other employees like her. So, my appreciation to Louise.
Thank you, and I'm sure all of us here appreciated the dedicated service of Louise and both the Finance Committee and the Audit Committee meeting. We gave her public appreciation, and I certainly would be happy to do that again tonight. Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, I will continue. The next is the report out of closed session. We didn't have a closed session, so there'll be no report. The city manager's report is in here, and it was written before John became ill. I don't think Ed Flint has had time yet to prepare a new city manager's report, so we'll excuse him tonight. There's no community organization roundtable report. So now we go to items 8 to 16, which is the consent calendar. So, as usual, the consent calendar is generally reserved for what we consider routine items. Anybody, including a council member or a member of the public, can in fact pull any of those items for discussion and voting on. So I will now ask, first of all, the council members, if there are any items they wish to pull.
Well, Mr. Mayor, before we get into that, back on the city manager's report, there was a commendation actually by an off-duty officer. I thought maybe it would be appropriate if the chief would just talk a little bit about David Gomez real quick, so the rest of the public knows.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Whitman. One of our newly hired police officers was at Target off-duty, not in uniform, and saw a young person having trouble breathing and immediately started CPR and basically was responsible for saving that young kid's life. So it was an extraordinary effort on his part. He didn't hesitate, he took charge, and the paramedics, when they arrived, credited him with saving a life. So just an extraordinary effort by Officer Gomez, and we're very proud of him.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 9, which is the check registers for discussion.
Okay.
I'd like to pull items 12, 13, and 14, please.
I'm going to ask for a clarification of the minutes, item 8 on one item.
Clarification of the minutes on this item.
The minutes are item 8, and I would like to have a clarification of item in the minutes.
Okay, can we do that? We do that after we've added everybody else. Take a minute to do that after. Elizabeth? Okay, so Jerry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 11, there was an amendment to the motion. The motion was to make the library the preferred site of the park, but there was an amendment that was tacked onto the motion, and it wasn't clear to me as to exactly what that amendment was intended. I think Vice Mayor Whitmer actually made the amendment motion, and the write-up says the size shouldn't be any larger than the footprint of the main house. Was that your intent? Bill, can you?
Yeah, what I was saying was that, if I could read the notes here. I wanted to add in that the dimensions of the library would be exactly the size of the main house, so that the footprint, we wouldn't lose any green space footprint.
That's what I thought. I heard you say that, and I just wanted to be sure that I understood it correctly.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, I also had some administrative changes that I've spoken to they're minor, to Teresa about in a minute.
Okay, all right. So we're going to pull items 9, 12, 13, 14, 8. So for those items, I would ask for approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we now go to the public hearings. Item number 17, the introduction of an ordinance to adopt refuse and recycling collection units. And I believe I will ask Councilmember Whitman to handle this.
Is it the same one you did last month?
It's the one that got sent out. I sent it out on Monday.
Right,
Yeah, we've got a few extra charts that we didn't look at last week. Okay. Okay, no problem. So I'd rather talk about trash than do drugs. So why don't we start it? Start up.
Next chart, please. Okay. I know that we did this about 4 or 5 months ago, and here we are doing it again. I'm going to try not to repeat a lot of things that we went over the first time, although they still are very applicable. But what we're going to do today is just talk a little bit about, the contract, kind of refresh ourselves and how we got to where we are. We'll talk a little bit about the forecast that we've received from the South Bay Waste Management Authority, as well as Recology, who are the people who pick up the trash. South Bay Waste Management Authority are the people that then process it and get it out to recycling. Then we'll talk about the Allied Waste. Allied Waste was our earlier provider of trash pickup, and their contract ended December 31st last year. They had a cost-plus type program, and they did all their final settlement, and then they presented a bill to the South Bay Waste Management Association, and we're now getting the final version of that. We spoke about this in February and again in April, and so this is now final, and we're going to have to pay that final bill, and we'll talk about what that is, why, and how we're proposing to do it. We'll touch base on the notice rates, and then the committee of John Danielson and Jerry Carlson and myself, we looked at really how can we really minimize the impact of these rates on the residents, and we also looked at how can we make sure that our rates stay stable going forward, because doing 2 rate increases in the 12-month period of time isn't very enjoyable for us, and I know it's not enjoyable for the ratepayers, and we're also ratepayers, so we'll move on. Okay, so again, we signed in October 2010 an agreement both with the South Bay Waste Management Authority as well as with Recology. That contract took effect starting January 1st. It's a 10-year non-revocable contract. It's a fixed price contract for the pickup of the trash. It's a variable cost for the processing and disposal of the recyclables and the solid waste. Okay? That contract was put together by members of 12 different organizations who did that over a 3-year period, 2 to 3 year period, to put all this contract together, to pick who the supplier was going to be. So this was a long time in building, and and then in 2010, it became fact that we had to go forward with it, and then we moved forward. Okay, again, it's a fixed price pickup. Okay, with a true-up and some CPI adjustments. So the costs from Recology are essentially set. There is a true-up portion, and then there are some CPI indexes that if they go up, certain costs go up, like fuel costs go sky high, they are allowed to make some minor adjustments in accordance with the Consumer Price Index. Then SBWMA does the disposal and the recycling, and we get their costs, and it's on a shared basis, all right? So our contract runs from 2011, January 1st this year, through the end of 2020, all right? We're part of a 12 community group. There is a 10% franchise fee that pays for upkeep of our roads. So the fee you pay, 10% comes back to the city, and the city uses that for street maintenance. It's more or less of a road impact fee, but we don't talk about those anymore here. So, and then I want to make sure that you know that we did do a rate increase. Everybody knows about 44%. That took effect July 15th. So we knew at the time we were doing that we were going to have an underrun or an under-collection in what we did, and it was going to be in this range. Okay, it ended up being a little bit higher, and we'll talk about that. So to kind of recap, the beginning of this year through July, you were at these numbers, depending on what suite of carts you had. All right, and so we raised them about 44% composite. So this was done, and the reason our rates went up so much was because there was a high amount of organics, the green carts, that caused Recology and the SBWMA to process a lot more than they anticipated, and to pick up a lot more. And I showed you in April or if you were here in April, I demonstrated that based on the tonnage that's picked up, the tonnage has increased here in Atherton since the beginning of the year, since Recology took over, by 50%. So our organics recycling has increased and continues to increase. And part of it was because it was being provided really for free. So why pay your gardener to take it away if the town's going to have to take it away yourself? So we looked at that, and we also asked Recology and the SPWMA, how much does it really cost to process these green waste cans? And it turns out it's $19.31. So it's not free, it's $19.31. And you'll see in a few minutes that some of your neighbors one of your neighbors has 35 of these things. Okay, so you can do 1931 times 35, and that's how much the rest of the town is paying for them to have their green waste taken away. So we said, look, that's not really fair. We want to spread the cost, and so we started, in addition to raising the rates, we also added a cost for the green waste. All right? So, again, when we implemented these rates, we knew that we were doing them in July, and we knew that they were not going to cover the total cost, and there was going to be an underrun, and we would soon have to pay the piper. We also knew that the allied waste, which was projected to be about $335,000 or $334,000, still had to be settled. Those numbers still had to be audited, and that we weren't going to address them until we had the final numbers, which we got in late September. Okay? At our current billing rate today, we're taking in $2.4 million. And looking forward, that's $1.2 million under where we need to be if we pay everything we need to pay next year. Okay? So, when we raised the rates, well, first when we announced the rates, there was already a start of migration to people to the smaller cans. So people got a letter in the mail that said, we're going to raise your rates, and that was in January. And some people immediately said, wait a second, I don't want this 32-gallon can or this 64-gallon can. I'm going to squeeze down to the other cans. And then when the rates came into effect, and it was actually in people's bills, then some people said, that's when they took action. But you'll see here, there was a migration of people from the larger cans downward to the smaller cans to the extent that they could do